Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our today's meetup. Yeah, so first of all, let me say thank you everybody, because I was very pleased and humbled to see so many RSVPs to this event. It is very cool. I never had such a big RSVP amount before. And and our today's topic is going to be mastering the art of software engineering, and it is not a technical topic this time, so it's I'm trying something new today. So usually I'm doing a lot of technical stuff, but today I'm going to present this. I never presented this topic before, and it is going to be something. And I mean, I tried to extract some secrets or ideas that I had and that I used throughout my career that actually allowed me to progress in my career, and that I think will be useful and will be interesting to other people to learn. And yeah, as the title says here, we're gonna go over 10 such secrets or ideas, and there will also be a bonus one for people who will stay so please stay around. And yeah, and okay, and yeah, and also feel free to ask any questions as we go. I mean, you can stop me, you can write it in the chat, and yeah, let's begin. Before starting, a few words about me. So my name is Mike, as I said, and I'm a principal software engineer at Diligent right now. And I started my career around 12 years ago as a junior Android developer. Actually, I'm originally a mobile developer, an Android developer. And interestingly, yeah, and I mean, I started my career in a small startup in Russia called News360. And interestingly, News360 and Diligent are only two companies that I worked for throughout this 12 years. Yeah, I mean, if you don't count acquisitions, because there were some acquisitions, but basically companies are only two. And of course, I mean, I didn't become from junior Android developer to the principal software engineer. So actually, it was a big journey for me. And throughout my career, I actually worked in a lot of different positions. So I started as a junior Android developer 10 years ago. Then I was promoted to the Android developer. Then I became a mobile developer, and I was doing both Android and iOS development. Then I became a senior mobile developer. Then I expanded to web, and I became a senior front-end developer. And I was already doing Android and iOS and web. Yeah. And then I expanded even further. I became a full stack developer. I learned about APIs. I learned about databases, about event-driven architecture, a lot of different things. And at some point I became a lead, and I even managed and mentored people at some point, even though it didn't work out for me well. But I mean, at some point I tried some management, and when I transitioned to Diligent, I transitioned as a senior software engineer 1, and then I finally became a principal software engineer at Diligent. And here comes my first secret. So how did I do that? So my first secret is to push the boundaries of your expertise. So and what does it mean? It means that you need to you constantly need to to extend your knowledge. If you start in some area, you need to gradually push yourself towards adjacent areas, learn more about that areas, and then move further and further. And I mean, this approach actually has a lot of benefits. When you expand your expertise, it first of all increases your value as an engineer. So the more you know, the more areas you cover, the more valuable engineer you are. Then it also increases your opportunities inside organizations. So you can choose between different directions and different opportunities, because the more you know, I mean, the more opportunities you have, even inside one organization. And I'm not even talking about transitioning to some other area. Then also when you understand like backend, when you understand front end, when you understand like databases, it gives you a very holistic view. I mean, you finally start getting like very holistic view on the architecture, on the engineering in general, and it also helps you like do your work more efficiently. Then all the patterns that you learn across like different languages, across different frameworks, are actually interchangeable. They are applicable in different areas. So like the more patterns, the more paradigms you learn, the more successful you can be in your work, because you can apply more efficient and like more modern patterns to different places. And last but not the least, it actually keeps you engaged, and it helps you avoid some boredom in your job, because sometimes when you stick inside one area, I mean, at least for myself, if you stick for too long inside one area, you basically get bored because you learned everything. Especially it applies like to some front-end development, because there's not too many things to learn there, and like at some point it is better like to push yourself to something new and avoid this this boredom. And the second thing, like the second secret is actually related to how you actually achieve it. And I mean, for myself, I'm a very practical person. So like when I do something, I usually learn by example. I learn by by practice, not by books. And what works for me very well is actually building a can-do attitude to your work. And what does it mean? It actually means that when you have a chance in your work, when you have a chance in your organization, or any chance to try something new, or you're offered something new, like your manager came to you, for example, you're Android developer, and your manager came to you and suggested you do you want to try iOS development, or do you want to try web, or do you want to build these new things? You should take this chance. I mean, it is very good for your for expanding these boundaries of expertise. And or for example, if you're API developer, if you have a chance to start looking into SQL, into databases, you should always do that, because it will help you grow. And so on and so on. And actually, when I'm thinking about this thing, I mean, I don't know if you watched this, but there's a movie called Yes Man, starring Jim Carrey. And I mean, if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch this movie and just start doing what Jim Carrey is doing in that movie. Just start moving towards new challenges and new goals. It's a very cool movie. I highly recommend. All right. Next on the actually on the topic of learning as well. This one may sound obvious. I mean, learn from the best engineers. I mean, you can say okay, Mike, it is obvious. Of course, we should learn from the best engineers. But the problem here is how do you find these engineers? How do you find people to learn from? And again, for me, I mean, I was very lucky to work with Yuri Fedoseev, who is currently on the call, and who is our co-organizer, because I was actually working with Yuri for all these 12 years together. And Yuri is an amazing example of this best engineer. He has all the traits of the best engineer that I actually listed here, and these traits, they can actually help you identify, help you find some very good engineers in your surroundings, in your environment, because in every company, I'm pretty sure you can find them. And what are the traits of the best engineers to learn from? Best engineers, they are really passionate about engineering. They have very strong sense of ownership at work. So I mean, you can clearly distinguish people who always take ownership for products, for their work, for their team, for their projects. They are early adopters of new technologies, and they always suggest new technologies. They bring new technologies. They're basically pioneers of new technologies, and they push forward the technological stack of your company, or not your company maybe, but they're just pushing technology forward. They always pursue technical excellence, and they actually ask other people to pursue it as well. These people are very focused on the outcome, so they know where the value comes from. They know what needs to be done to bring actual value, not to do the work just for the sake of work, but just to bring actual value. They care about quality. They care about efficiency. All these kind of traits you can find, or you can subscribe to URIs like LinkedIn or Twitter. I mean, that's one option. But I mean, you can find other people as well, and just stick with them and just try to learn. And it's the easiest part. I mean, it's the easiest path to learn new things, to learn about engineering in general. And yeah, any questions so far? Maybe there's something in the chat. I'm not checking. Okay, if not, we can go ahead. And my next secret is actually this is one of the most important one, in my opinion, and I think this is really a cornerstone of career growth. You always need to seek for critical feedback, because there are two types of feedback that you can get. You can get positive feedback and critical feedback, and we all love positive feedback, right? I mean, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel that you're doing the right thing. It tells you what you need to continue to be doing in your career. But the problem is that it's not very valuable, because it doesn't actually tell you, for example, what should you stop doing, what should you do better, where are your gaps, what should be your direction for growth. I mean, positive feedback doesn't provide you any hint for the growth. And critical feedback on the other side, it can be very disappointing. Some people cannot accept critical feedback, but with the right attitude to it, it can actually provide a lot of value for your career development, and just show you direction, show you where your gaps are, and just yeah, and just allow you to fix these gaps, and then you will probably discover some other gaps, or maybe you need to change something in your behavior, or all these kind of things. You can get them from the critical feedback, but unfortunately, the problem with that is that it's very hard to get some feedback in general, because people are generally they are reluctant to give any feedback, especially critical feedback. So if you can find any person in your environment who can actually provide it to you and provide you honest critical feedback, just stick with that person, and just always seek for critical feedback. Okay. The next one is master your root cause analysis, and here I'm basically mean that another great source of learning for you as an engineer is dealing with production incidents. Dealing with incidents, probably just even subscribe to on-call in your organization, to subscribe to some production support, and just start dealing with the production incidents. Start getting into the root cause of these things, because it's not that I love production incidents. It's not that anybody loves any incidents, but they happen. I mean, they happen all the time, and they are a very unique source of learning. They are very unique source of information that you can that you cannot get anywhere else. And yeah, but again, unfortunately, very often people never get to the root cause of any issue. What are some very common the most common issues in the retros for the incidents, for example? It is usually increased loss from the customers is an issue, right? A network problem somewhere, a cloud provider outage in some region, or like our servers was like out of memory, we just need to restart it and just drop memory, or like there was a temporary glitch in our service, like this kind of thing, or like server just stuck, and I mean we just rebooted it and everything was fixed. But the truth is like none of these issues are actually like the root cause of the issues, because customers are definitely not the problem of like of your service, of your like of your product, of your organization. Then the probability of cloud provider outage or of network outage is like very low. It is like 0.001%. So it cannot be always the case for any issue. And then like services, they don't stuck like without a reason. So and this is your chance, like your chance to really understand the root cause and improve, because only when you understand the real cause of the issue, you can actually improve your system, improve something, and like really fix something. Because if you point to any of these causes, you will never improve anything, and you will never learn anything. And the real causes of the issues are different. I mean, it is usually some lack of scalability in your system. It is insufficient resources that you gave to your to your containers, to your servers. There are some bottlenecks in your system, like maybe database performance issue, like database bottleneck. There are memory leaks. There are bugs in your service, or like maybe you can even like have a wrong architecture for your task. Like you're trying to solve something that cannot be solved with the current architecture. So like all these kind of issues. Like as soon as you understand what the real issue is, and like as soon as you learn about it, you increase your value as an engineer, because you can quickly identify issues, you can quickly tell what is the problem, you can quickly come up with some action items, with the correct action items that will improve your your overall system and like and overall health of your service. So it is very important like to learn to identify and like to learn the root cause analysis. Okay. Any questions so far? I think not. Okay, so like now like let's switch a bit like to a different topic, and this is like one of my favorite things. So secret number 6 for me is like participate in the code challenges. And I mean, this is something that I was doing a lot, and this is something that I enjoy doing throughout all my career, and like probably especially in the beginning of my career, because like it's a great source of learning. You can really participate in such things. So first of all, like how do you find some like such challenges? Like there are a few types of it, right? I mean, there may be some like public challenges from some companies, like for example, it can be like Facebook is publishing some challenges or like some competitions, or like for example, like one of my like most memorable ones were when I participated in the Telegram challenge. Like when Telegram Messenger was doing Android application, I was an Android developer at that point, and they were doing a public challenge with the money prize actually, like to come up with the Android version of the mobile app for Telegram Messenger. And actually, I spent a lot of like sleepless nights working on this prototype, but I learned like a ton of different things. I learned about cryptography. I learned about like how you communicate like peer-to-peer in a messenger. I learned like how you implement your own secure protocol and how you encrypt every single message with a different asymmetric key, like all these kind of things that I would never learn otherwise. I just learned from this like this simple challenge. Another sort of challenges are hackathons. There are a lot of different hackathons, like different companies actually hold this hackathon from time to time. In Vancouver, there are like a few like anon hackathons, like for example, One Hacks. There are others. I don't remember names, but I mean, you can always find them. Like they happen from time to time, and hackathons are great because you can meet new people, you can have fun, you can try your skills like in a time limited environment, and just like build something cool, learn some new things. And also like the last one, there are sites that actually provide like that's like topcoder.com, for example. The sites, they actually provide like a public challenges, but it's not like a one-time thing. So they basically have some public tasks that are actually requested by the real customers, like real people, real companies. They post their challenges because they need to solve some real problems for their services, and then you can subscribe, and then you can compete with other people on like on this work. And like what is special about this part is that since it is like a real production ready part, you can learn like how to pay attention like to very small details in your solution, because like when they do QA, they are actually, I mean, they're merciless. They would just point out like any minor detail in your solution, and this actually teaches you to really like maintain high quality, to pay attention to details, to pay attention to corner cases. So it's a great source of learning. So I highly recommend you like to use this three. I mean, you can find other ways to challenge yourself. Yep, sorry. I thought there was like one more slide, but yeah, I probably missed it. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that like one sec. Yeah, the slide is missing, I think. So like, but the challenges are cool. Like, first of all, you can do something outside of your work without changing your work. So if you want to switch context and like try something new outside of your common job responsibilities, you can do it like without switching the job, and this way you can again, you can avoid this this burnout and like concentration on a single task, and just try different things. You can win money prizes, which is also cool. I personally like won a few times. Like actually the Telegram challenge, I won a prize, and then like in the top coder I also won a few things, and it is like always cool to get rewarded as well. So like just please try yourself in this, and yeah, you will see like whether you like it or not. But I personally like really enjoy all these code challenges as a way of learning. Okay, moving on. My secret number 6 is like states compete with yourself and align with others, and like it's not vice versa. It's important like to get it right. So like, because very often people they spend enormous amount of energy competing with other people, just like for the sake of competition, just like to prove that they're right, just to prove that they're like that the other people are wrong. But I mean, instead of that, you should be just aligning with other people. You should like support each other. You should help each other like grow. Like you support each other and move towards like your common goal, like toward the goal that will bring you like you and your peers to the next level, instead of like competing with each other. And the cost of not being aligned in your job can be visualized like this. It is actually like everybody has a vector, right? And your vectors needs to be like your vector need to be aligned to get a good result. Because if you're not aligned, you're like you assume like your final result will be like very poor, if not to say like negligible. Because it doesn't matter like how fast you're moving if you're moving into opposite directions. your final result will always be not good enough. Let's put it this way. Okay. All right. Yeah. Actually, the next three things that I want to talk about is actually something that I still haven't mastered myself, because just things that I'm still learning, and I'm still trying. And the first such thing, which is secret number 8 here, is you need to work on improving your communication. And first of all, I need to admit that my communication, I'm not the best person in terms of communication, and communication is not my biggest skill, and my best skill for sure. And I actually want to tell you a bit of a personal story. So if you noticed, if you visit other meetups, or even today, you can notice that I actually stutter. That's my problem, and it actually was much worse in my school years. And it was actually so bad that when I was growing up, I was actually thinking okay, Mike, you need to find a job that will where you will never need to to communicate with each other. You would never need to talk. You would never need to to speak to anyone. Just find something maybe with computers or so. That's how I became a software developer. But actually, time came by, and here I am. I'm presenting in front of you. So it is definitely an improvement for me, because I always had that had that internal push for communication. But the truth is, you actually cannot avoid it. In any job, in any position, at some point, you will have to communicate with other people. You will have to mentor people. You will have to share your accumulated knowledge that you accumulated during your career. You will need to explain to explain some very complicated technical details, very complicated technical solutions, and you just cannot avoid any communication. So you need to work on it in any case. And even if you're already a cool engineer, and you're technically very strong, it just your communication skill, they will actually multiply your value. They will multiply the value that you can provide, because you can share your value in a clean way. Everybody can understand, everybody can learn from you. You can become a mentor. It is always good for your career, good for your value as an engineer. And and the good thing about communication is I proved it, that this is the skill that can be trained. My communication sucked in all ways, in the beginning, and now I'm learning. It's getting better. It can definitely be trained. All these things increased heartbeat, sweating palms. I went through all of this. It doesn't happen with me anymore. So it can definitely be improved, even when you're presenting in front of people. And as I said, it is actually a must for your career development, because at some point you just cannot avoid you cannot say that you don't have the skill, and you don't want to communicate anything to anyone. And then again, it's a way to to increase and multiply your value as a profession. Yeah, okay, so audience is very silent today. So do we have any comments or questions? Maybe
we have a lot of comments. Actually, we have conversation. Chat. There are chat is on fire today. Actually.
Oh, sorry. I don't see it, because this this Zoom overlay actually hides the chat from me. So is there any questions or just discussion?
There is some discussion about communication, we agree, we use emoji today a lot.
Okay,
it's a lot of fun. But if you have direct question to Mike, please it's opportunity to ask question.
I have a comment, if that's all right. Like, yeah, I also had some problems with, sorry if you can hear me, social anxiety for quite a while. Just some really bad experiences that really crippled me for quite a while. And for me, it's been a journey. Sometimes I stutter as well. But what really helped me was going into finding a community where I can just practice talking, and there's a safe place where I don't have to have this huge, like, I'm not put on a pedestal where I really just feel overwhelmed, but it was a space where I could just talk kind of casually, and that was a spot that just really helped me. And for everyone, they have their own spot that works for them. But I think finding that group where you can just practice, where you don't feel stressed out, you're gonna get a panic attack every time you go there. But having a healthy place where you can practice and not feel any sense of judgment, but you want to improve, right? Like that's the way I take it.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Thank you for sharing that. That's exactly what I mean. What I find as well, because for me, what actually works like pretty well in this sense. So like, on the lines that I mean, you need to start with a few people, with some people that you know, and with some people that you actually feel comfortable presenting to. For example, it can be your team. You can start with some small technical sharings inside your team, especially when you're a senior engineer already. You actually have a lot of things to share. And I mean, you can start with your team. You can start with some with the small groups in your company, for example, or some simple things that actually don't that are not very debatable. For example, if you have some dash demos at your company, you can actually use that opportunity to present, because when you're doing demo, you're basically presenting some result that is already done, and there's not too much debate. You probably need to answer a few questions at the end, but it is more or less not stressful. And again, I mean, and for me, for some reason, even though our meetup group is very big, and sometimes there are a lot of people on the call, for some reason I actually feel comfortable presenting to you guys, because I mean, I just feel very safe here, and that also works. And by the way, if you want to present, if anybody of you wants to present something, just please reach out to any of us with your ideas. So thank you very much for sharing this. It's a very good point. Okay, and moving on, and next one is actually somehow related to communication, and it is the thing that I just recently learned, and it was actually suggested by Yuri again. You can actually learn a lot from Yuri, as I said. And this is something that, and focusing on transparency in your work is very important, because historically, I mean, for many years, I was actually focusing mostly on the speed of implementation, on the speed, on efficiency, or on the speed of delivery. And if you ask any of my colleagues about what is the one trait that you can talk about Mike, everybody will tell you Mike is fast, Mike doing things fast. But fast doesn't always mean good, actually, because especially when you're moving on the fast speed in some direction that only you know, and that's not aligned with anybody. So and that's why transparency is very important, and it is even more important the higher position you have in your company, because your decisions and your direction actually affects other people, affects affects a lot of things in the company. And that's why you need to be very transparent about your work, about what you're doing, about your results, about your future steps, even when you're sharing something sorry, no, not this one. When you get some results, you need to share them with all the stakeholders, because this will help you with some feedback about your work. This will help those stakeholders to do to do their job better, because they will be aware of your work. And like if everybody in the company will apply more transparency to the process, overall process will be much more efficient than just like moving, just working in silos, like working in knowledge silos is always bad, because you only in the best case, you will just be like duplicating some work, or just doing some work, doing some work that is not needed. But in the worst case, you can actually do something unexpected, or I mean, if you don't share your direction, if you don't share your results, another person maybe not aware, and he may take wrong decisions. He may actually do wrong things because he just not aware of your work. So that's why transparency is very important. And yeah, you need to focus on this first, and only then on your speed, or on your on other aspects basically of your work. I see something in chat, so
yeah, just a quick comment, Mike. It seems like these concepts are so tied together. So like transparency, communication, alignment, yeah, I think it's just really shows like how important these skills are to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and everything is related actually. Yes, I mean all this. Although I mean, I call it secrets in the presentation because it is much more clickbaitish thing, but actually it is just the ideas and just common things that everybody can apply, that everybody can learn and rethink some day-to-day operations and some day-to-day work and and the things people do for their careers, and it can just help you. And it is all related. I mean, all the things there are all around improving as a professional, improving as a team, improving as a company, all these kind of things. Because this is the main driver of your career. You need to bring value. And actually, it's a good segue to the last thing. So in your work, you need to focus.
Before switching to the last thing, we have a very good question in our chat, related to transparency. And transparency is a bit difficult for introverts. How you can work on it? Yeah,
okay, that's a great question, because I'm also kind of introvert, and that is, again, I mean, that is something that I'm trying to change in myself, because yeah, I mean, and it is mostly related to communication. It is mostly related to this interpersonal thing, but yeah, I mean, transparency doesn't mean that you need to go and actually talk to people. If you feel uncomfortable talking to people directly, you can organize something. For example, what you can use, if you use Slack or any other communication channel, your team or your group or your department, they can have some Slack channels or whatever channels you use, some channels for some initiatives, or some channels for daily updates, or for example some feature related channels where everybody just posts things that they're they're working on, or they're going to work on, some results that they achieved. So the main thing here is to share knowledge, not to communicate or to talk to people, or to be even to be nice. I mean, you don't even have to be nice. It's just you need to provide information. You need to share some results. And this is very important. Other than that, yeah, I mean, yeah. So you first of all need to concentrate on this. So and it doesn't have to be some personal messages. Just have a channel where you can share things, and yeah, you can try that. That also works very well for myself and for our team. All right. Yeah, and as I said, everything here is related to improving and to achieving some results as a professional, as a company. And then it is actually segues nicely into this last secret that I want to share. So, and you need to focus in the work. You need to focus on the outcome and like not on the output. And these are like two different things. They sound similar, but they're actually like very different. And one is not related to another, because output of your work isn't like anything that you basically do. It can be like number of lines of code that you wrote. It can be like a number of meetings that you attend, number of features that you added to your product, number of documents that you like you created in Confluence, like whatever. But this output doesn't mean that you actually provide any value. And in fact, it can be the opposite. Because sometimes, and I mean, I myself, I mean, I personally guilty of like working on some stuff and like producing some stuff that actually become like nothing more than just like a technical debt. And you need to like, I mean, sometimes it happens, and especially it happens when you don't challenge like technical complexity of the solutions, when you don't understand domain or like product well enough to come up with some like a good and simple architecture or like some good and simple solution for your customer. Or for example, when you don't challenge or don't question the need of new product features that you're trying to add, especially if it is a very complicated feature that would require a lot of work. So like you almost need to think about outcome. What will be the value? Not like not just adding like some new code and new features into your system, increasing complexity, increasing like maintenance cost and everything. And yeah, so what actually increases like the outcome of your work? So like understanding of your domain, of your technical domain, of your product domain, and understanding of customer problems actually increases your outcome, because you can provide like simpler solutions. You can provide solutions that cost less, that work better, that provide more value to customers. You also start with writing less code. Actually, like no code is best code is like our motto at our group. And I mean, because if something can be done like without code, so because some people think that like as engineers, actually our job is to write code at work, but that is not true. I mean, our work is not to write code. Our work is to solve problems, solve technical problems, and like solve customer problems. And if you can do it without writing any code, it's great. I mean, if you have to write some code, okay, but it is always better to have less, because the less code you have, like the more this like this difference between the cost that you pay for some new features and the outcome that you get, like this difference, it will be bigger all the time when you're like when you write less code or like when you provide a simpler solution. And again, like focus on simplicity in everything. Like if you see that something is too complicated, it probably shouldn't be that complicated. Again, like the simpler solution is, the more outcome you get. It's always like always good like to make some data-driven decisions. If you can leverage any data about like what product features we need to add, like what customers are actually requesting, like what are our problems, like what are our technical problems, like based on data you can prioritize some work and like prioritize some features instead of just guessing or like having some hunch about like what needs to be added. Like data-driven decisions are always like better for the outcome than just like just guessing, basically. All right, and finally the bonus bonus secret for everybody who stayed like up to this point, and this is like one like one of the things that I constantly focusing on, and this thing actually like goes throughout like my it's basically like my approach like to my work, like to my career, and it is persistence in your day-to-day work, because it doesn't matter like how many secrets you know, like how many things you have, like how many opportunities you have. If you don't do like very small steps every day, if you don't improve yourself every day, if you just come to work and do nothing, in a year you're gonna be in the same place. Nothing will change. It doesn't matter like how much knowledge you have or like how many opportunities you have. But at the same time, if you're doing like really small steps, and probably you already saw this equation before, it's a great motivator. It's like one of the best motivators I ever saw. Like if you do like very small steps every day, then in a year you'll be in the completely different position, in a completely different space. And if you repeat that from year to year, throughout 12 years at least, at least for me, it was my journey from the junior developer to the principal software engineer. You can actually do it better, especially with all these secrets that I just shared. Now you know, and now you can do it even better. Just keep in mind that you need to be persistent. You need to apply consistent effort on your work. Otherwise, nothing will work for you. So that's the main thing. That and that is what I wanted to end with. And this is if you need to remember anything from this presentation, so please remember this final slide. Just be persistent, do small steps every day, and you will be in a completely different place in very short time. Thank you very much for coming. It was I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. And yeah, and we have some time for discussion or for questions. I see chat is on fire again. Yeah, so please, if you want to discuss anything or if you have any comments or questions, please bring it.
Right now, a lot of thanking of you for this presentation. I also want to say, Mike, thank you for advertising me here.
Yeah, you're welcome. It is very well deserved.
Yeah, this group is just for this purpose. Each meetup, we need just to spend 10 seconds just to share how great I am. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, for promotion. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we have questions. Awesome.
Okay, who want to go?
Yeah, I can
go first.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. I'm wondering if, let's say you wanted to learn something new, like there's some new technology or some pattern you wanted to learn about, what is your process like for learning about it? Would you start reading or talking to other people? Would you be taking notes about it and kind of going back to your notes? Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. As I said before in this presentation, I'm a very practical person, and for me, what works well for me is just start doing things. And for example, I use that a lot throughout my career. For example, when I was transitioning to iOS development or to web development, when I was learning Angular framework or when I was learning React, I would just start writing, start creating an application with this technology, and then you start getting some challenges. You start getting some things that you don't understand, and then you just go and there's a great community out there. For the most of technologies, for the most of aspects, there's there's a great community on the internet. You can use GitHub Stack Overflow for any questions that you have, and you can very quickly actually get answers. And especially now, now we have ChatGPT, now we have OpenAI stuff. You can find any hint or any clue really quickly. So now it is even more simpler. Just start doing things and just learn as you go. That's my approach. Doesn't mean that it works for everyone, probably not, but but for me it works well.
I can go next.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for the presentation. So I have a question regarding the job transition or career transition, whatever. So, I mean, every company in the industry uses their own tech stack, right? Somebody uses Angular, somebody uses React for backend, Scala, Java. It's their preference. So, for example, if you join a company or at the starting of the career, you join a company and they have their own specific tech stack, and God forbid, very few people in the industry uses it. It's not really popular. And at some point of the time, in the future, you want to join another company. Ideally, they prefer candidates who have professional experience in their own tech stack and want to select it. But you don't have it. So I was wondering, how do you approach it, that kind of scenario?
Yeah, it is a very interesting question. So basically, it's a problem with all such like exotic technologies that are not like very, very popular. And here you just need to understand like what you want to achieve, because I mean, you need to balance between something that is like really valuable. Because, for example, like if you're a React developer, you have no problem finding any job. Like React developers are like in very high demand, or like Node.js developers, these days Python developers, they are like really in high demand. So you like, if you get into these technologies, you definitely increase your value. And then there might be something that you're actually interested in. So like maybe you want to switch some context and try something new. And if this exotic technology is something that you're interested in, for example, it is like, I don't know, like Elixir language. If you want, like, if it is your interest, I mean, then just go for it. I mean, especially if like maybe that company is like is interesting for you, like for some other reasons. But I mean, in general, I think in most of the cases, it doesn't make too much sense to spend a lot of time on the exotic technologies, because technology is moving very fast. Even popular technologies, they like becoming obsolete very fast. So like if you want to really increase your value and like become like a very high demand professional, it makes sense to spend time in the trending technologies, not like some exotics. But again, I mean, it is not a career advice. I mean, it's just my perspective. So yeah, you need to weigh in all the factors.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. We have to be careful while choosing the job. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the talk. My question is going to seeing how you have both web and mobile development experience, right? So in terms of how they tie into each other, are they related at all? Or is it that if you are usually experts in one area, are you kind of stuck in the same field? So I feel like when a recruiter reach out to you for a job, right? So if you have mobile experience, for example, most of the job offers you get is going to be mobile jobs. So you're not going to really be, having these like web development jobs coming at you. And then the same thing for the other way around. If all your experience is in like web dev, not a lot of people is going to try to like, give you like mobile jobs, right? So the fact that you have both, like how exactly does that work? And then is that like common in the industry?
I'm not sure about like how common it is in the industry, but it's just like as I said before, like when you're expanding your expertise, you basically increase like the amount of opportunities that you have, because basically when you learn, like for example, you learn Android and then you learn iOS and then you learn web, you can advertise yourself, like depending on the situation, you can advertise yourself as a web developer, or like as a mobile developer, or like as a front-end developer, or as a full stack developer, if you know full stack. So like you will be just like a good match for more jobs. But yeah, I mean, you need to start in advance. I mean, you cannot just, okay, I mean, I was doing Android and here's a good iOS position, and now you're not prepared. You need to be prepared in advance for that, and then you can choose. And again, I mean, mobile development actually changed a lot since, I mean, I started it. So now it is all about unifications. It used to be like very different. So like Android would use like Android native SDK, then iOS would use like iOS native SDK, web would use like some web frameworks. Now it is like more unified thing, and like people are moving towards like some unification. So it doesn't really like applies anymore, I think. But I mean, in general, when you know more technologies, you can position yourself in a different in different light. You can position yourself as a mobile developer or as a web developer, depending on the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for sharing.
Hello.
I have a question. As an intern, I'm curious, what are those like undesired student mindsets, those typical mindsets that junior engineers always have, but senior developers will avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're talking about. Like, even though like I haven't forgotten that that feeling about like being like a student developer. But I mean, for me, I in the very beginning of my career, I was trying to be like very optimistic about about this. Like when I came like my first job, when I came to Yuri actually hired me as a as a junior developer, and like when I came to the job, I mean, I didn't know anything about Android. I mean, I knew some Java, but I mean, I didn't have like any knowledge about Android, and I told him that Yuri, I don't know anything about Android, but I can learn fast, and I mean, I will learn, and that was my attitude. I mean, I was ready to learn, and that's the main thing in the very beginning of your career. So you need to be ready to learn things. I mean, as long as you learn, you will be a desired student, not a like undesired student.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Yeah, so I have two questions if we have enough time. My first question, Mike, is with your trajectory of your career, did you feel like you had a certain direction or goal as to where you wanted to be, you know, in 10 years or 20 years? Or do you feel like there was just kind of this journey where every time you were at work, you were just kind of figuring things out, and you were just kind of going into whatever opportunities you had, and you ended up where you are now? Do you feel like you were kind of just naturally going into certain areas, or do you feel like you had just kind of a direction that you really wanted to pursue when you first started your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I personally, I can say that I had like a very clear vision of becoming like some particular type of engineer in my career. So, I mean, I definitely wanted like to grow, and I always wanted to grow to grow technically. No, I mean, I was never interested in like being a manager or manage other people. So I was always like focusing on the technical side. But on the technical side, the thing about me is that I mean, I just love engineering. I mean, I love doing my job. I mean, I love working on the interesting technical problems, and it doesn't matter in which area it is. Like it can be in mobile, it can be in web, can be in databases, can be in like with the infrastructure. Actually, currently I'm doing like a lot of infrastructure as a code thinker. I'm not even writing services these days, but again, there are some like very interesting technical challenges, very interesting learnings, very interesting like new things, new technologies, and that is what actually drives me. And I mean, it drives me like to like forward. And I mean, and I don't think too much about my final goal. I just doing small steps every day, as I said. I mean, just consistently do effort.
But I can share some insights, like for folks.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I remember like our interview, like your interview when that you referenced just recently, and I asked a question during previous interview related to your career progression. And I asked like, how do you see yourself in 5-10 years? It was one of my favorite questions, like this time. I constantly asked it like closer to the end of interview. And Mike said, in 5-10 years, I would like to be head of department. Something like that.
But you know what? I mean, when you're a junior Android developer, you have no idea what it means to be a head of department. And
yes,
and that's why it actually doesn't even matter like what you think, like what you're going to be in 10 years. And I mean, the point, the main thing is that I would never ever like predict where I will be in 10 years. I mean, if anybody asked me like 10 years ago, like where I will be, this like current situation will be the last thing that I would ever like say. Like I would say, no, it cannot happen. not for me. Like, yeah. So I mean, you never know. That's why you need to do like small steps and just do turns, do pivots whenever it's needed, and you will be in a good place. Just keep track every day.
It's like waterfall planning versus agile planning, because
Yeah,
with
exactly.
waterfall planning, like everyone failed. Each time, for example, when I create some plans like for a long time, it's just impossible. Like there are so many moving pieces, and you cannot predict everything.
Yeah, and my favorite methodology is extreme programming. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions?
May I ask one question?
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah, Mike, thank you for great presentation. I really liked the metaphor of vector and the chips, the advice you gave about all the patient persistence. Yeah, my question is about kind of like having good environment. I think for career growth, it will be also crucial to be in a good environment. I mean, good environment is like where you could have opportunity to be involved in like a large project where you could make like big outcome to your company, or like to be surrounded or by like competent or engineers, or like having good mentors around you. In your career path, have you ever had like a difficulty to having those kind of like good environments? If you have had, I'd like to ask how you handled those kind of situations before.
Yeah, that is a very good point, and yeah, definitely you need an environment where you can safely grow when you have a chance to learn, when you have a chance to progress, and if you're currently in the environment that doesn't allow you to do that, I mean, you will never progress. You will just burn out. You will just stay at the same place. And yeah, definitely. But again, I mean, I don't have any particular advice, because again, I mean, I was, as I said, I was very lucky to always work in a very good environment, and that is and that's a great point that you actually raised, because yes, this is very important. This actually simplifies your life a lot, and your career grows a lot. But I mean, I don't have any particular advice, because I just don't have such experience. Sorry.
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that's that's definitely a part of I mean, one of the reasons why I mean I am where I am, because I was in this way, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, I also think to be conscious about having good environment, and to have a stance to actually have responsibilities to choose to be in those kind of environment is kind of critical point for engineers too. Yeah, thank you.
Any last minute questions?
Oh, I have a question for you, Mike. Thank you for the presentation, first of all. So this thing, there are a lot of technologies coming up, new frameworks coming up. So I think you too, and many people have this fear of missing out. We cannot learn all the frameworks, all the new technologies. So how do you manage to stick to your path? Because right now I am jumping around things, web app security, front end development, back end development, and how do you decide what you're really interested in when everything is so interesting and so attractive?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, yes. When I was talking about the can-do attitude, I forgot to mention one very important caveat. So first of all, when you're trying to learn all this stuff and try all this stuff, so try not to overcommit yourself, because you can actually burn out and just end up not learning anything. And you definitely need to concentrate on some stuff, and now how you choose these things. So yeah, definitely there are a lot of technologies out there, and I mean, you cannot learn all the technologies. I mean, nobody can learn. So yeah, again, it is the balance of two things again. First of all, what is valuable, what is like what is in high demand, what is like what is popular, what is trending, kind of thing, and then what is interesting to you, because like your work should definitely, I mean, you should definitely enjoy what you're doing. You shouldn't learn technologies or like areas that you don't enjoy. And I mean, I tried a few such things before. I mean, as I said, I mean, at some point I was trying like to manage people, to become a team lead with some direct reports, and I mean, I just didn't like it, and I mean, I wasn't good at it, and I just abandoned this direction completely. So you need to enjoy stuff, and I mean, since there's a lot of things to choose from, you can always choose something that you like, and that is also like popular.
Yeah. So another question on the same note. So which one is better, having, because if you choose too many things, you're going to have like surface level knowledge of everything. And if you try to go deep, you will probably, have very limited a number of technologies. So which one is better? I'm not sure how to maintain a balance between, having surface level knowledge of some things and being very good at, single technology, because as we see right now in job descriptions, they do not list a single programming language. They want more from you.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. And yeah, like these days, engineers, I mean, they become like more and more like the end-to-end owners or like developers or different things. Because these days you need to know like how to set up your infrastructure on the cloud, how to to write the actual code, how to test it, how to deploy it. So you need to become like to understand DevOps, you need to understand security, like all these kind of things. Yeah, I mean, definitely you need to understand all the aspects, but it doesn't mean that you cannot be like, well, it's again, it's a two-ended thing, right? I mean, on one end, you can just choose one technology and stick with it, but in this case, you will become like a very good professional, but there's a risk that the technology will become outdated, it will be replaced with some other technologies, and you will have to start from scratch. On the other hand, yes, if you spread too much, you only get like some surface knowledge and you never go deep, and that is also bad. Definitely, in reality, like what I usually do is, usually stay with some technology for some time. For example, like currently I'm working on the infrastructure as a code. So I'm concentrating a lot on these aspects of like CDK, for example, or like Terraform versus CDK. And I actually learn, I learn deeper than just like a shallow knowledge. But at the same time, I don't stick to this technology. If tomorrow there will be something else, I will start using that. And it's always the balance. There's no silver bullet for it. I mean, you just need to somehow balance about it. But yeah, definitely only having like a surface knowledge is never good.
Yeah,
it's better to reduce amount of technologies, but just get deep.
I can add to this point as well, because if you just start analyzing your career, Mike, especially beginning of your career, the most important is that in the beginning of your career, you never switched between different technologies.
Yes.
You achieved mastery, for example, on Android, and only then switched to iOS. When you already had full understanding of Android, and after that you switched to web, you switched to other technologies as well, only after achieving mastery. And this mastery, it was very important, because with this mastery, with several years of experience with some technologies, you understand the root, the core things in this technology. And when you start switching to another technology, for example, from Android to iOS, you see the same patterns, you see the same things. You're growing much faster because of that. Because even the main architectural pattern was a little bit different. For example, it was classical MVC for iOS and MVVM for Android. It's still you see, for example, notification, eventing, how communication between different controllers happens. Like all of this stuff helps you just to become more successful. You just expedite your growth.
Yeah, that is like a great point. Yeah, and like this balance between like sticking with one technology and like learning a lot of technologies actually like depends on where you are. Like in the beginning, you have to stick with one technology, master it, and just move over. And like every next technology will be easier for you. And then at some point you can start like just learning things like much faster. And yeah, but in the beginning, definitely yes, Yuri is like absolutely right.
I see. Thank you, Mike and Yuri.
Sorry, Mike, I have one more question, if that's all right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I did not do a computer engineering degree. I ended up doing a chemical engineering at UBC, and I think this question applies to a lot of people. But if you don't do the university degree for computer engineering or computer science, I know there's some new degrees for data science now, but that's very recent. Where is a good, or what are some important things for people to from that path to learn to kind of catch up with people who understand or have the fundamentals of computer science or computer engineering? Yeah, that is a very good question as well. And I mean, it is funny because I'm also not like a computer. I mean, like not a software developer by profession. Like my education is actually related to the hardware. And I mean, I never wanted to become a software engineer. I always wanted to become like a hardware engineer, but I ended up here. And I mean, it actually doesn't matter. I mean, I think that like this fundamental knowledge, it helps in some way, but it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't define anything. So because if you love engineering, if you're engineer, if you have like engineering mindset, if you have a technical mindset, you can always understand these concepts because these are like, I mean, engineering is engineering. It doesn't matter like is it like software engineering, like civil engineering, like chemical engineering, because there's some common things like the way you think, the way you like reason about things that helps you understand or technical things, and when you combine it with this like day-to-day effort to learn, because in reality you actually have a lot of time. If you think about it, you have a lot of time to learn things. It just people just never do it. People just like keep doing some boring stuff day to day, like don't learn anything, don't improve like efficiency, performance, like don't improve their techniques, and that is what actually like consumes their time. It's not that they don't have time, they just don't use it efficiently. So you just need to like to learn, and I mean there's no problem. It doesn't matter what your education is.
I want to just bring one great example about like education. There is such personality. His name is Alex Debris. He's author of the DynamoDB book. It's quite famous book about DynamoDB. He had a lot of different presentation like for AWS reInvent, like for many years, and you will be surprised. Mike, could you just stop sharing for a couple seconds? I will show his LinkedIn page, and you can see actually political science, economics, doctor in law, but at the same time he is absolutely fantastic expert in DynamoDB. He absolutely fantastic engineer. He just recently wrote amazing article about event driven or like event driven versus event based approach. Like it means like he understands all of his stuff like very well. He definitely has passion. Very important to have passion about things that you're doing. Like education, like all of us, we do mistake. We go to some university, and after that we realize like, oh man, it's not what I wanted to do. It happens, like, but it's okay. Like the most important to have passion.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, everyone. Like it was great chat. Actually, like the final chat was was great. I don't remember that we're having like such a good discussion about things. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Mike, for like your presentation. It was amazing. I can truly say like it was the best your presentation, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's what I mean by improving communication. Yeah. I'm learning.
Thank you. See you in June, guys.
Okay.